Oh my gosh, good morning.
Good morning. The rapid acceleration from 57 seconds to 9 seconds down to 3 always throws me.
No, most people don't see that though. It cuts our countdown is a 60-second countdown, but we don't want to wait that long.
No, that seems
So
like 60 minutes.
so I jump it ahead to 6 or something.
Yeah.
That's all we need. It's a little transition between hitting go live and appearing on your screens.
Bam! Here
We
we
used to
are.
not have one, and then you just never know when it's going to start.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
That's weird. Anyway, we are here on a Thursday. Heather's last time live from this setting for a while.
Yes, for a fortnight, if you will.
Gosh, who uses the term Fortnite, Heather?
Old-timey people and Taylor Swift.
Exactly. I knew it was one of the two.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are here as usual to talk about any news that happened, and there was some. And today we're also talking about tips for traveling with friends.
Yeah.
Because this is something we've done a lot together, but also a lot of people that have met, like we have a Patreon community, they will meet and then decide to travel together. And so it's good to know some things before you do that. And then as usual, we will be looking at your comments or questions that are submitted on the during this live, and then we will get to those at the end. Did you want to talk about any housekeeping things? We talked about the park picker tool that came out this week. Next is a character locator tool.
Yes, Park Picker tool. We've got some great feedback on it. Already made some tweaks and adjustments. So thank you to everybody who has been sending those in. I appreciate those because we do want it to be something that works for everyone. And then the character stuff is in some deep testing right now. If you're a member of our Patreon and on the Facebook group, you know that, and already got some great feedback over there. Already made some updates to fix a few things. So I'm excited to roll that one out as well.
Yes, these are both very useful for different reasons. The Park Picker tool is basically using a lot of data plus our own experience to try to help people, put in their trip dates and figure out which parks are best. So that's like one thing. But this character locator tool is us just like wrangling all the character information because there isn't one spot for it. And now we're going to have it in one spot so that it's easily searchable.
Yes, not only all in one spot, but if you're a member of the Patreon, you'll be able to save who you want to visit and save their actual meeting time. So you have all those right there on your phone, which I think should be nice and will help kind of bridge a gap for people who are trying to meet the characters who are tired of opening up their app every time to figure out who is where.
One of my favorite things, and this is something that came up in the Instagram Q&A on Tuesday, is somebody said, how or where should I meet Minnie Mouse? And when you search Minnie Mouse in the tool, it shows everywhere you can meet her, but also pictures. So you can say, I'd like to meet her in that dress, or I'd like to meet her in that dress. She has so many outfits, and you can pick based on outfits if you want.
Which is nice, or backdrops, or the park where you're going to be, and people may not even realize that the characters are in different outfits, and you've got a regular Mickey and a sorcerer Mickey, so lots of different uses, I think. So hopefully it'll be useful. Look for that. I think tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be the big day.
All right, there you go. That's going to be exciting. Okay. Are you ready to chat about some news?
Yeah.
The biggest news is, drum roll, please.
Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is going to open or reopen on May the 3rd. So Disney promised us early May, and they are delivering on that.
May the 3rd be with you.
May the 3rd be with you. That's right. One piece of information that was kind of surprising is because it has all new tracks and refreshed passenger train, the height requirement has actually been lowered to 38 inches.
Instead of 40.
Instead of 40. So it is now the same as Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
It did give me the idea. I think I'm going to wrangle some information together and do height requirement stuff for social media. Like, here's how tall you have to be for all these different rides, because this one is different.
Yeah.
The kids hitting 38 inches didn't used to be able to ride this.
No, they did not. So This is exciting news for families who are traveling. It opens up an opportunity for another big kid attraction if your little one is at that 38-inch mark and is excited about it. Um, Again, one of the biggest new additions that they mentioned is the Rainbow Caverns,
Hmm. As pictured here, look how pretty.
which looks very beautiful. It's going to have shimmering light effects, iridescent stalagmites and stalactites, and it really sounds like the track isn't super exciting. The new cars are probably going to be something that's interesting, but these caverns sound like something that's going to be a big deal.
Hmm.
One of the new magic moments, if you will, of the ride. Again, Disney is leaning into the backstory, and so that is something that they're really emphasizing in all of this PR rollout that they have. Uh, there is Barnabas T. Bullion,
Hmm.
and that is the kind of the person that is part of the story that's going to be told on this attraction.
He struck gold.
Yes, he did. And the mountain is fighting back.
Yep. And we're going to see this very, very soon, which does beg the question. A lot of people are like, what about a soft opening? And that is possible.
Yeah, definitely possible. Would not be surprised. They've already got some cast members who have been writing it. Of course, the bigwigs have been on it. So I would not be surprised to see a little bit of a soft opening.
Hmm.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah, keep an eye out for cast member previews because that can be a great indicator. If things
Mhm.
are going well with the cast members, maybe those days leading up to May 3rd, it'll be a soft opening,
Yeah.
which means no lightning lanes can be booked. It
Mhm.
means hours can be unpredictable, but if you happen upon it and it's open, it can be a nice little bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, so very exciting news there. That one's been closed for over a year. It'll be nice to have another headliner back that it might shift what you want to do with your lightning lane selections.
Mhm.
So just something to keep an eye out if you are going to be traveling May 3rd or later.
Okay, what else?
That was the happy news. Now, a little bit of sad news that came out that I wanted to talk about, and that is that yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, they're reporting that Disney plans to lay off as many as 1,000 employees in the coming weeks.
Can you imagine working someplace and there's a news article that's like, you might be laid off?
Yeah, and I know this happens in a lot of industries where that happens, especially the big ones where you have a big employer, um, and the news gets out that they are doing layoffs, and then you just have to sit around and wait and see if your name is on the chopping block. Um, I think the reason I wanted to pull this out is because the project name that they've given to this restructuring effort is known internally as Project Imagine. And the idea behind it is that if they consolidate some of their marketing department, because that's who is primarily affected, um, they they will have money to invest in other areas. They're looking to streamline expenses to adapt to a smaller streaming profits and a weaker box office, and that should then free up cash to invest in digital growth. But if I was part of a layoff, no, as a project called Project Imagine, I don't know that that would sit very well with me.
Mhm. Imagine our lives without Ashley over here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't like it. Now, um, in the broader context of this all, 1,000 jobs is not a small number. It's a huge chunk of people, but it actually represents less than about 1% of Disney's global workforce. So this is not a sign of something that's bad or terrible happening within the company. It does really sound like they are trying to free up a little bit of capital to do some other things. But it's not something to be worried about unless you are, of course, one of those 1,000 people who are entering a job market right now that is not the best. So,
You're working in marketing at Disney.
yeah. So that is, I think, about it for the news. Let me just make a quick look over here and make sure there's nothing else big that just came through. No,
You never know while
yeah,
we're talking what's going to happen.
yeah. I don't see anything else new. So, yeah. So some really happy news and some kind of sad news.
All right. Today we're talking about tips for traveling with friends, people
Mhm.
that you haven't traveled with before. I want to say, as somebody who was single for years, that I think traveling when you're in a new relationship is often a great thing to help learn about each other. Like, can they be patient? Can they navigate difficult things? What are that? Just learning a lot about each other. But the same can be true for friends.
Yeah.
And you might know each other in one context, but then you go on a trip and it's a whole different world.
Yes. And also, the people that you are closest with may not be the people that you want to travel with. Like your relationship may be something that works outside of travel and it may be just absolutely perfect for that, but doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make the best travel partners.
All right. You
Okay.
have a long list. So I'm going to chime in throughout.
Okay, so I really got to thinking about this because as I get ready to leave this weekend, I'm kind of doing several different trips. I've got a trip that's starting with my spouse for a Run Disney thing. There'll be friends that are there. I've got a work trip. I've got a trip with other friends, a cruise. Like, so I'm kind of doing all of these things all at once. And I thought it might be kind of good to talk about the things that go through my brain when I do this. So the first is to kind of figure out what your trip vibe is going to be. So before you book or you discuss this with your group of who is going on this trip, is what kind of trip is this like we're going to rope drop and we're going to stay out till park close, we're just going to do some food and drinks, we're just going to chill and connect and spend a lot of time by the pool? Are you there for a purpose like Run Disney? Or if this is like a trip you're adding on to a conference, like is there a purpose there, or is it a little bit of everything?
Yeah, and I think that as part of this, it can be helpful to ask people, like, what would a good trip look like to you?
Mhm.
Because sometimes I have found, as we are planners for anybody that we travel with usually, and people listening to this probably are too. Other people, sometimes they'll see like a video online and they're like,
Mhm.
oh, I saw somebody swimming in the pool and they were watching fireworks at like Magic Kingdom. And like in their head, that's what they want to do. But they didn't mention it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I have learned to just say like, what is like your picture for this
Yeah.
trip? What are you thinking?
Yes. What's the vision?
Yeah. Or like one time we went to Costa Rica and it was a very, very busy trip with like
Mhm.
lots of activities. And I found out that some of the people in our travel group had really pictured something more relaxing.
Mhm.
And it's just like you got to figure out what is it that you're picturing.
Yeah. Because you don't want that leads to disappointment when the picture in your head does
Hmm.
not match the trip that you are actually on. So once you figure out kind of what the vibe is, um, set some clear non-negotiables. And those are 1 to 2 must-dos before the trip for people. And it could be per day or it can be for the whole trip, but just figure out what everybody's must-dos are. Because just like you were saying, if you don't know what those are, and people aren't voicing those, then it's really easy to be disappointed or resentful. And that can be, an attraction, a restaurant, watching the fireworks from the pool, or whatever it is. Figure out what those non negotiables are that are going to make the trip successful.
Hmm. And I think like sometimes the planners, if they're controlling, they sort of dictate this, but it also
Mhm.
can work the opposite where the planner is so busy pleasing everybody else that they don't do anything that they want to do.
Yeah.
So everybody, including the planner, needs to contribute.
Yeah. And I also think it's helpful to decide or to give voice to the idea of truly, these are the things I do not care about. Like if you are somebody
Mm,
that does not give two rats behooties to where you eat, then
mhm.
let that be known, because it really makes it easier for the whole group to figure out where compromise is easier. So if you don't care about something, make sure that that is something that you are saying too.
I always say the pickiest people need to be the ones to speak up because like I'm not super picky about food.
Mhm.
So like it's not helpful for me to suggest places to eat because if people are picky, then they're just going to get shot down. So picky people, speak up about what you are into.
Yes. And then the next one is kind of the big one, I think, where it starts to get weird and people may get uncomfortable, and that's the big money discussion. Understanding what everybody's budgets are before is really important. So your hotel budget, the dining expectations, transportation, like are you going big or are you trying to save? Are you looking to share meals? Or do you want to take a minivan every place? Does everybody want lightning lanes? Is it only in somebody's one person's budget to do it and everybody else can't do it? Fancy dinners, quick service, like figure out what your budget is ahead of time and don't assume that everyone spends the same way just because you're all friends, no matter what their income level is or how they work at home. The comfort level of what people might be willing to spend on vacation can vary greatly.
Mhm. In groups, you often have to go by lowest common denominator.
Yes.
So what hotel are we staying at? Okay, well, if the least expensive one on the list is the one that everyone can afford, then that's the one we're doing.
Yes. Absolutely. Otherwise, you have to also be okay with somebody not being able to go. So is it more important that you stay in the more expensive place, or is it more important that you're there with your people? So those are all discussions you have to talk about. But in addition to that, when it comes time to pay, as someone who has done many trips with groups now, Disney isn't always great about wanting to split checks. So you have to figure out how you're going to decide on who's going to pay things. Sometimes they're okay, but if you get more than two people, they don't like splitting out the check. So you can do we can all take turns paying and then do the math to figure it out. But one thing I really like to use, and this is something that Felicia brought up, and it's an app that we use now, is Splitwise. And it's great for splitting everything. So it's an easy app where you put in what everybody is paying for different items, and then it splits it up automatically. And it takes all the math out of it. It makes it very easy. The free version will work for most instances. You don't even have to, do any of the in-app upgrades to do it. But that way, if one person is the person who's always booking the Ubers, you can add that to the list. If somebody has discounts and it makes it easier for them to pay for meals because you're going to get, the AP discount or the DVC discount, you can add that in, and it's just going to divide it all up and sort it out by who owes what, and you can Venmo each other after the trip is over.
And in terms of Disney World, if you have Magic Bands and you're doing room charges, you can all be on your own card if you want to, if you do split it up. And the way to do that is go to the front desk.
Yes.
You can't, ahead of time, you can't do it because ahead of time, you're just putting one card on file. But if you go to the desk in person and say, I want my card, she wants her card, et cetera, and then everyone can do their own room charges separately.
Yeah. Again, have those money discussions before you go, because it does make it a lot easier when you're there. Next thing is to understand that, like you were saying earlier, that it feels kind of natural that somebody usually ends up doing all the planning and all the figuring out for all the details and whatnot, whether it be one person getting up and making the ADRs or booking the lightning lanes or figuring out which park they're going to go to each day. If you have somebody who likes to do that, that's great. But also it can be very easy for the person who's doing all the work to start to feel a little bit resentful if they are doing everything, especially if they hear complaints about what the decisions were. So have those discussions ahead of time. I think that's the big takeaway here, right, is communication. Have discussions ahead of time. Maybe if somebody is really good at the planning, they can just handle the planning part. But somebody else can be the one who's always booking the Ubers, or somebody else can be the one who's helping to figure out, okay, what quick service are we going to go to? Don't put it all onto one person's shoulders, especially if you're not willing to be happy with what that person's planning. And then I also think it's okay if you are a total Disney newbie and you don't know anything about it. You don't have to do something that's Disney related in order to participate and contribute to what the group's doing. It's okay if your role is like everybody's hot. We're going to go find some place. We need to go find some place to chill out. Or I think it's time for us to eat. We need some water. So somebody can even do those kinds of roles. It doesn't have to be complex Disney planning because we all know that is not so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I touched on this a little bit when we were first started. Not everyone vacations the same way. And if you've never vacationed with somebody before, this may be a huge learning thing for you.
Especially at Disney World.
Especially at Disney World. Your best friend that you hang out with every weekend at home you guys may not be compatible travelers. Some people may want to sleep in, some want to do rides. None of it is wrong, but pretending that everybody wants to do the exact same thing is a recipe for just being pissed off at each other sooner rather than later. So normalize splitting up.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing that I personally hate is I hate being a nag. I hate being put in a position where I'm like, got to get ready. You've got to do this. Like, I don't want to be in that position. So if you don't want to get up early, you don't have to get up early.
Yeah. And normalizing that ahead of time makes it a lot easier. So whether it's getting up early or doing thrill rides or just needing some time to be apart from the group and not be on on your best behavior or smiling and happy at like that is it's perfectly okay on a trip to split up some. And it doesn't mean that you're mad at each other. It can just be, I want to go do this. I will meet back up with you. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because meeting back up later is often better than dragging people around to things that they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Some other things to think about ahead of time, as you know, a woman of a certain age, things that are important to me. So like eating. What are people's expectations of eating? Not just like what kinds of meals you're going to eat, but how often are we going to eat? Are we going to, I need to eat a lot. So are we going to be just snacking? Are we going to be eating table service? What's the expectation here so that I can be prepared? And it's not just for your preference on how you eat, but also it kind of impacts your budget and your energy and like the vibe of the trip. I think something else that's big is trying to decide what your rooms are like. Where are you going to stay when you're doing this? What is the perfect setup? How many people do you want to put into one room? Because you can save a lot of money when you do that, but it can also backfire fast. So the idea of, is it better to have one deluxe room so you can have a deluxe resort or 2 rooms and a value? Because that price is probably going to be fairly comparable.
Mm-hmm. When you're done with your tips, I want to talk about how we travel together specifically.
Okay. So be thinking about that. And when you're deciding who's going to stay where, like who stays up late, who gets up early, who needs the air conditioning turned down super low because they might have hot flashes and night sweats. Or
they might have vascular disease and be cold.
Yes, exactly. Know that ahead of time so you can kind of divide up the rooms. Because again, it may not be the person, if you're in a group, it may not be the person you would normally want to split a room with, but if it makes more sense that you both get up early or you both stay up late, those 2 people should be together so that everybody gets more sleep. And I think all of this ties back together, all of these discussions that you need to have, some of it ahead of time, some of it when you're actually there, is that communication is going to be key. And being direct, even if it's not easy for you, is better than being resentful. So being able to say, no, I don't want to do that. And if something's bothering you, don't just keep it in the internal monologue, say it, but you can be polite. And if you have a preference, it's okay to say, no, I would rather, if somebody asks, which bed do you want? It's okay to say, I think I want that bed. It's also okay to make sure that things get divvied out equally. Like if if you're traveling with somebody who you know struggles with that, it's okay to also make sure that things are a little bit equal by just making sure you're not claiming too much of the space or the stuff. So you're not responsible for everyone's happiness, but one person should also not be the only person making all the decisions, choosing what's going to happen, where are you going next. So having that be a more shared responsibility. And then finally, lower your expectations, because things will go wrong. People will get mad at each other. People will get cranky. And having somebody who is willing to be like, you know, let's stop. Why are we feeling this way? Do we need sleep? Do we need water? Do we need food? Do we need a part-time? That's fine. And monitoring that before things go totally off the rails will make it much easier to have a good trip.
Yes. All good tips. Years ago in the patron Facebook group, I had posted a survey too that people could take before trips. And it's where everyone fills it out and just figures out a lot of the answers to these questions. So there's those kind of resources online too, if people are interested. We can talk about our trips though, because we travel together a lot. We didn't necessarily do everything on that list. It was sort of trial by fire.
Yes. And figuring things out.
But we've been traveling together for what, 10, 11 years?
A long time now.
A long time. I used to say Heather is my roommate 20% of the time. It's not quite that high anymore, but it's still a lot. So the financial piece, which is a big one, kind of takes care of itself because these are work trips. And so it's a work account that pays for both of us. So we don't really have to divvy that out so much. What else? We have food that we order to be delivered for our trips. And I always ask you, what do you want? And you send me a list. It's usually a pretty routine list for both of us. And we place that order together. And then for our hotel room, we usually share a hotel room. I think both of us ideally would like our own rooms that maybe connect. We like suites, like at Art of Animation for this reason, because I don't know how to speak for you, but I think that as we've gotten older, it's just the separate spaces have felt more necessary. And I don't know why that is exactly, but we met when our ages started with a 3 and they now start with a 5 and things change. And I think if we could swing it, separate rooms that were adjoining would be perfect. It's just not feasible.
Yes, it's
a lot of
not
times.
always feasible. I think part of it is that we tasted that sweet life.
Yeah, and it is nice to have just, a separate door, but also be able to open it and chat if you want to. That's a really great combo. We also both wear Bluetooth headbands. I almost brought one up here to show, because we both wear Bluetooth headbands at night. And do you wear yours at home too, just as much?
Yes.
Okay.
365 days of the year, I wear my Bluetooth headband.
Okay. And I have backups because I run my battery down. I have to swap it out in the middle of the night sometimes. But Bluetooth headbands, which we like at home, but also when traveling, are helpful because then we can each listen to whatever we want to. And it also kind of lightly keeps sounds out. So I don't, like if Heather were to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I wouldn't hear it because I've got my own, sounds in my ears and stuff. So, and also just hotel sounds, people walking by. It helps to kind of disguise that. We do happen to agree on room temperature, which is helpful. Which is crank it down as low as it can go.
As low as it can go. That one of my first things when we get to a room is generally I order more towels because we always use more towels than what we need, and to order an extra blanket so that I like the room cold with an extra blanket on the bed. And I just order that through the Alexa in the room.
We don't want to trigger it right now.
Nope.
We also have kind of a getting ready workflow. So in addition to traveling together, we are working during our trips. So there's a lot of like laptop time, recording time, this kind of stuff. And we have to kind of navigate both. And I think at night, a lot of times when I'm editing our 2 podcasts that go up every day, you are in the shower getting ready for the next day. And then the next morning, then I will get ready. That way there's no competition for the bathroom space, which is nice. What else? We both like to eat a little bit often,
Mm-hmm.
which is very helpful. And we do a lot of mobile ordering. So I will say, okay, where do you want to eat? We'll decide on something. And then I will start a mobile order on my phone and pass it to Heather and say, add whatever you want to the app. And then I'll place the order for us to eat. But we do tend to both really like eating a little bit every few hours,
Yeah.
which is nice. What else? Anything related to your list?
I think the bathroom thing is an important one and something that I didn't really touch on, and it's figuring out that schedule because it can be, especially if you have a lot of people who need a lot of bathroom time, that can be tricky. And no matter what size room it is, if you don't have multiple bathrooms, so figuring out how you're going to do that. Something that I've done when I've been traveling when for like the Run Disney races when there's more of us who need access to a mirror is I bring my own so that I can do what I need to do away from the big mirror. Um, and I think things like that can help too. If that's something that you are able to do, is do that. Some rooms also have secondary mirrors, which makes it easy. Some rooms also have secondary sinks, where like this little smaller sink where somebody can be brushing their teeth there while somebody else is in the big bathroom. So thinking about how you are going to approach that, especially if you have people who are all trying to get ready for a specific time, like a Run Disney race or for rope drop, where leaving at a specific time is very important. Now, if you're doing something where it's more of a vibe trip and the time you actually leave doesn't matter, that's not as big of a deal, but figure that out ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. I think in terms of schedule, a lot of times our schedule is sort of figured out ahead of time because we're doing work tasks. So it's like we have work lists. So that part kind of works itself out for us as well.
Yeah.
Neither of us is big shoppers. So I want to say that as a thing, like in terms of figuring out what you're going to do. Some people love shopping and they want to go into all the shops. They want to spend a lot of time. And Heather and I are not into that. We just dip in occasionally to look at stuff. But I think that's something that could be very different. As a child of a shopper, I can tell you that was a big part of all of our vacations or whatever, was watching mom shop.
Yeah, and if you know that somebody is a big shopper and you're not, that's a great time to split up. Like somebody can go do their shopping and you can go do whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, but if I was traveling with a group and we were having these kind of discussions, I would say a lot of things don't matter to me in terms of like food and different things. But I would say I'm not a big shopper. So if you want to dedicate time to that, I'm probably going to just go do something else. I don't care.
Yeah, truly. And this is like I feel like a deeper discussion. You should only be saying, I don't care if you truly don't care. Because if that's again where the resentment builds. So if it's something that you truly don't care about, don't rely on somebody else to know that you actually do care. You are going to have to use your words and say, I do care. And then maybe think about why you care a little bit.
Yes, but what we're not going to do is try to read between the lines. Like if you say you don't care, I'm just going to believe you.
Yes, I'm going to believe that you truly don't care. But even a loose routine for your days, figuring out a meeting point. It's a lot of the same advice that we give people who are traveling in groups, like family groups. Especially if your group that you're traveling with gets bigger, maybe you split up during the whole day and you plan a dinner together and everybody just meets back together for dinner. It gets you a little bit of the time where you get to do the parks solo or in a smaller group, plus time for your whole group to meet back up. I think that's why we really like cruising with groups or with friends, because that really lends itself to that a lot. It's very easy to do things by yourself, do things in small groups, and then everybody meets back up again for dinner and you get to kind of talk about your day.
100%. We do have some comments. Jessica says, so excited for those who get to experience the revamped Big Thunder Mountain soon. 100%.
Me too.
What does this say? Good morning.
Mages of Magic.
I don't know the word mages. Let me look that one up. So excited to hear what you have to say. I think your format may become popular after streaming is banned at the parks. Oh, this is the cast member that chimes in sometimes. Libby says these tips are great for trips with friends and family. Is that someone you know, Heather?
No, but I like that last name. And I do have my sister-in-law is named Libby.
I didn't know. Maybe she was trying to send a message to you via the live.
That would be hilarious.
Mark says, Shannon, you mentioned you're traveling with 25 people on an upcoming trip. How do you handle that? So Heather and I both are. She is going to Disney World next week for a Run Disney event, and she'll be with her husband. And then she flies directly from there to California, where she joins me and a group of about 25 people. And we go on a cruise, and a part of the group also goes to Disneyland afterwards. But it's a cruise. So as Heather just said, cruises make it much, much easier.
Yeah.
So we have a group chat in WhatsApp that we have been using before the cruise, and WhatsApp works on cruises. So we've been able to at least communicate in that way. But everyone has their own staterooms, and we will at the very least meet up for dinner because we all have rotational dining on Disney cruises, and we will be seated together. But also we will likely just do stuff in small groups. So when there's trivia, you know, maybe it's us plus 4 other people from the group. Or if you're hanging out on the deck reading a book, maybe, you know, people from the group walk by and you end up chatting. It's as much or as little as you want together, which is why cruises are so much easier.
Yes, and it's a lot of fun. It's fun to be on the ship and know that there's these other people that are there that they're likely doing something. And if you needed somebody to do something with, you can join in with them. So it makes it a lot of fun.
And we've done this before many times with groups, and we do it every year. We're going to be doing another one later this year with a different group. So yeah, Disney World, I think, is kind of complicated with groups, just the logistics of it. Cruises are so much easier. Maybe so in conclusion, go on a cruise.
Yes. Yes. Or just know that you're going to have to do a lot more planning and wrangling if you're trying to do like a Disney World thing with 25 people.
Yes. Okay. I think that's going to be it, right? For today?
I think so.
Okay. So we go live Monday through Thursday on YouTube and Facebook. And this Thursday, if you look at the calendar, so that means we're done for this week because we spend Friday with patrons. And Heather's off to Disney World.
Yes, I'm going to, usually I like to do my extra park days after Run Disney events after the run, like as a reward, like, oh, look, you did that. Now you can go play. This time I'm going to do it at the beginning of the trip. So I'm excited about that. I will go live from wherever I'm at. Who knows what my mornings will look like. I do need to work some in the mornings, and so does my husband. But so it may be from my resort every day, or it may be from the park. Who knows? But I will be there.
Keep us guessing.
I will.
All right. So that's it for this week. We will see you on Monday.